Yeah, baby, we're back, Steve. Welcome to Laying the Points with Farley Betts and Steve Snorman over here. Guys, it's week 13, another week in the book. Steve, we improved last week. It's always good to have that comeback week a little bit. I mean, probably still not our best effort of the season, but we weren't in the negative, which the way the NFL is going, man, that's a good thing. Let me spit out some stuff here. As usual, people, you may notice a little bit more energy from me this week because I'm Steve. I might actually be turning a corner with this damn 2-month illness of mine. But yeah, so follow us at theoddsbreakers.com. Follow the Odds Breakers on Twitter. Steve and I are putting out picks there multiple times every week. We have college basketball plays, we have hockey plays, we have golf, we have NBA mostly from me and from some other great writers. We got NFL from Steve. We got college football. This is just that time of year. Check out the Odds Breakers for all your sports betting information. Check out at Sports Wager U on Twitter. At Sports Wager U, the Sports Wagering University is an incredible concept where we're teaching you to bet like the pros. Please check that out. Check out the website as well. And finally, check me out at BetUS TV 4 times a week talking NBA. As far as the NBA goes, I am 74 and 57. That's 56% for plus 25.67 units. Great night last night, 4-1, 6-1 the past 2 nights. So I'm sticking with the NBA to hold up my unit count, Steve. As far as the NFL goes, I went 6-5 in week 12. So it's a winning weekend, but I split it even on units. So still negative units on the year. Just been one of those years for me. Steve, how was your week 12?
We we dug ourselves back out of that the last 3 weeks a little bit, slightly. Only had a record of 7-6, but got to almost a half unit back. So it puts us overall at 97 and 74 on the year. But I'm really happy in the sense that it did get us out of that lull that we were having. Even though it was 7-6, the one key thing was it kind of a lot of it hung on last night's game, where that could have been a huge swing game for me going 8-5 rather than 7-6. So can't be too mad about it. I kind of felt like I was on the right side of it when the line ended. Just things didn't fall my way in that one. But really looking forward to bouncing back this week. I think this week things are going to really start to go a little bit more in our favor.
Positive regression has started, Steve, and I think it's gonna be good for us for the rest of this NFL season. Man, I gotta say that Eagles Giants pick, dude, absolutely infuriating. And then in Circa, we went 3-2, so good week in Circa, but still we need more of those 4-1, 5-0 days. Steve, I'll get some feedback. I don't know if it's coming from your end or not. But we are 38, 21, and 1 in Circa right now, so still really good. Another 3-2 week. But we need more 4-1s and 5-0s. But I'm going to be curious to see where we stand right now, Steve, in the Circa standings. Because God, I was really thinking that was going to be a great week for us. And of course, the Eagles and Steelers let us down. We'll talk about that. But with that, man, shall we get to it? 14 games as usual. 4 teams on bye, and a lot to talk about. Let's start with the Dallas Cowboys, who shit the bed on Thursday Night Football. Another reason, I didn't talk about this, but I was 6-5 in straight up ATS plays, but all my parlays, all my teasers completely messed up because of the Cowboys and because of the Eagles. So thank you, Cowboys, for ruining our turkey teaser. But that being said, Cowboys blew it on Thanksgiving. Now they're 4.5-point favorites on the road against the Saints. Totals at 47.5. Steve, you're telling me that I didn't do a checkup on this injury update or starting quarterback update, but it looks like Taysom Hill taking starting reps this week for the Saints is going to be very interesting. Thursday Night Football. We know McCarthy's going to be out because of the COVIDs. Will Amari Cooper return? We don't know. CeeDee Lamb should be back. This is a Saints team that got beat up by the Bills at home. You saw that coming, Steve, and both of us hit that play. Kamara is questionable in this one. Man, I methink Taysom Hill is interesting, Steve, and there's no tape on that guy, so that's an angle. I mean, there's tape on the guy, but not to start a full game, really. I mean, I think he started like one game, maybe, but not a ton of tape. You gotta imagine Sean Payton is going to get very creative with him. But that being said, the Cowboys come back to life. I mean, this is a team I thought we could depend on as a covering team week in and week out. But there's some real problems with that offensive line, Steve. I mean, they were not protecting Dak very well. Now 2 weeks in a row. That's just been their offense stepped up, but their defense kind of letting some things happening now. Diggs getting exposed a little bit, after that early season success. So I want to look at the Cowboys here, Steve, because come on, bounce back spot. The Cowboys better start winning because this NFC East race is getting a little tighter. But the Saints are a sneaky team at home with Taysom Hill at quarterback. What do you got in this one?
Yeah, actually, to surprise, Taysom Hill actually started, I think, last year 4 games as a starter and actually went 3-1 in that span. So he has had some experience in the starting role. Only to that though, at 4 touchdowns being passed by him, he's a lot more dynamic and runs the ball. Well, one thing is we're looking at the interim coach here, Dan Quinn, who's very familiar with the Saints as being in the division as the Falcons head coach. He has a 4-6 record against the Saints, along with that being 2-3 on the road. So not sure how much that will play a fact here, but definitely I think losing your coach and having to go back for this type of thing during this COVID thing, pandemic thing, it has caused some issues for teams. Some teams it hasn't affected them as well, but overall, Cowboys are 1-8 going into New Orleans. Granted, a lot of that is always mostly probably against Drew Brees in the past. So whatever trend if you're looking for there, but the key is for me is it kind of seems like Dallas is starting to regress a little bit and fall back into what, kind of what happens with Dallas every year. Now, are they going to be able to come in and just get after it this game? I saw that Jerry Jones said they really want to lean on Zeke this Thursday. They said he'll be a full go and look for him to have a very heavy workload. So they're going to rely on the running game. And if that's the case and they're really relying on the running game, I think maybe one possible angle, especially with, a quarterback in Taysom Hill that isn't exactly a gunslinger type of quarterback, only throwing 4 touchdowns and 4 career starts, that might bode well for the under in this one, specifically if the Cowboys are looking to really lean on their run game and just slow down the game, get a time of possession, and focus on it on the game plan that way. I don't think Cooper is going to go. I'd be shocked if he does. They said he's still really bad with with COVID, and it doesn't look like he's going. They're going to try to test him tomorrow. But that is my angle, I think, for this one. I'm going to look more towards the under in this one for a Thursday night matchup.
Yeah, I like that call, Steve. The New Orleans Saints are number 1 in the NFL on rush yards per attempt and 3rd in rush yards per game. Really good rushing defense. So if they're planning on Zeke getting back after, they better have a good game plan for that, because that's the one thing that the Saints are still doing pretty well. All right, Bucks at the Falcons. Falcons 11-point dogs at home. Bucks off that impressive win against Indy. Totals at 50.5.
Man, yeah, Falcons are a roller coaster team. 1 week they'll show up, the next week they won't. Now they have a very tough matchup with the Bucks, and I think about the beginning of the season when we saw that matchup with the Falcons at the Bucks. It was a 12.5-point line. The Falcons were every bit in that game until the second half when Matt Ryan, I think, threw 2 pick sixes like in a row. It just got the game way too far away from them. But they were actually sticking with them. And the biggest thing is when the Falcons have Cordero Patterson, they're a different, more dynamic team. I'm looking right now, and we're at key numbers with having a lot of the betting percentage. Right now, the public is at 78-22 on the Bucks, and that's just a huge line when you're getting that much public betting going on one team. So a home dog, it might not be a good one, but I'm kind of leaning Falcons at this point, even though it is early in the week, to see, just because this is a division game. There's division games, they kind of get a little funky sometimes, and Cordero Patterson definitely brings a big wrinkle for this team.
Yeah, I would lean to the Falcons side too. This number is just a little too big for me, even though the Bucks are obviously the Bucks. I mean, Super Bowl contender. They look every bit as much of a Super Bowl contender this year. And now that they won a big game on the road, maybe we feel a little less nervous about betting on them in this spot. That being said, we talked about good run defenses already. The Bucs are the best in the NFL. I mean, rushes per game first, opponent rush yards per game first, opponent rush TDs per game third, yards per rush fifth. This is a really good rushing defense. So Cordero Patterson is absolutely a force, right? He's that jack of all trades for that team and changes the game. But are they going to be able to? Going to be able to keep that up against this Bucs defense? And the Bucs really impressive against the Colts. Fournette, man, if I could talk on this podcast, Fournette ran that ball last weekend. And the Falcons, for all that they used to be, Steve, a recent Super Bowl team, at least in our recent memory against the Patriots, 5 years ago now or something, they're averaging 324 yards per game. I mean, this is not a great offense or their offense of the past by any means. So that scares me away from taking the Falcons, but a divisional game, you got to like that, I guess, if you're on the Falcons side. Probably no play for me on that one. All right, Cardinals at the Bears. Bears are 8-point dogs at home. Totals at 45.5. All the Cardinals do is win, Steve. They're 9-2, coming off a bye. Kyler Murray should return, I believe. You can check me on that if you heard anything else. To be honest with you, man, when I saw this line, 8 feels too low for me. I mean, what do we like about the Bears? Not much. The Bears beat the Lions last week. Sweet. I don't know what to say about that. That's a game that the Lions probably should have won. The Lions played hard, but the Bears, they had some good drives in that first half to end the half, and then they just stayed in the lead. That being said, that's about the only team in the NFL that the Bears are going to look that good against. This is a Cardinals team off of a bye. Kyler Murray should be feeling healthier. You got to like the Cardinals heading into this one. I don't even care that they're on the road. Cardinals have to keep on winning, especially with Aaron Rodgers and the Packers sneaking up behind them. We're thinking about the playoffs. Only way I can look at this one is the Cardinals, Steve. Please tell me you're not betting on the Chicago Bears.
Well, I mean, there is interesting news this week. Cliff Kingsbury with the Oklahoma job, that coming out. So does that affect this team's chemistry at all? It's kind of awkward situations right now that he even has to talk about that. Like, you're in contention to make a Super Bowl run, and we're talking about taking a college football position, head coach. I don't even know how this happened. Maybe it's just the media causing all this or what. But wherever there is smoke, there is fire, right? So I just wonder if that will impact anything for the teams being prepared this week. But they are very hopeful that Murray and Hopkins will be back. Dalton is gonna definitely going to be the starter again this week, as Field does have cracked ribs. Biggest theme this whole week for me right now, especially, I understand it's early in the week, is just looking at these massive betting percentages there, because there's a lot of them this week. Right now, it's 78-22% are on the Cardinals, holding at that 8 line. And my only question and my only thing that could, what could really cause Chicago to stay in this game is, Murray's coming back, and it is Chicago. So what's the weather going to be like in Chicago for a quarterback that hasn't been playing for a while, used to playing in a dome? If it's a rainy, cold type of windy, weathery day in Chicago, and they could really lean on their running back in Montgomery to get going a little bit, could that cause some sort of disruption to this Arizona Cardinals? Looking at all those factors, with is there going to be a Kingsbury narrative this week? Is Murray going to be 100% polished off, ready to go, especially coming into Chicago type of weather and atmosphere? That's the only thing I could see that could possibly cause a hiccup. And then combine all of that with getting over that key number of 7 and having betting percentage or fading the public. So that might be my angle for this one, and could actually lean Chicago.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I didn't think about the Cliff Kingsbury stuff either. Of course, I've read all about that, but I guess I just don't believe that Kingsbury is going to jump ship in the first year that he's finally doing well. But that being said, yeah, all solid points, Steve. I love the contrarian angle. All right, Chargers at the Bengals. Bengals, you can tell I'm pretty amped for this podcast, Steve. Chargers at the Bengals. Bengals 3-point favorites at home. Totals 50.5.
Yeah, I mean, this is that vintage QB battle of both top rookie quarterbacks out of the 2020 class. Both of these teams have been up and down. Like, we at one point, Bengals were the number 1 team going into the week. They lost to the Jets in the whole entire AFC. Now the Chargers are reeling to maybe even make the playoffs. So this is a very interesting one. I think overall, more balanced team so far is the Bengals, being at home. They're coming off of a very impressive win. And I just am concerned with Herbert if he's able to actually protect the ball in the long term. He's forcing it against Denver, causing key interceptions. However, again, a lot of the public is on the Bengals, so it's just something to keep an eye on. These are huge disparities right now in betting percentages and trends this week. So I think overall, if we're going to fade the public as a whole, I think we can come out on top. And I think also trying to choose our spots where we take what the public is doing as well. But right now, I really am going to lean on the Bengals at home. I just think they're a more complete team, and Burrow has looked a lot more sharp.
Yeah, I think the Bengals are a really complete team too. I mean, the kind of rounding back into form for what we saw earlier in the year. I mean, the mental fortitude, Steve, to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers twice, not only in Pittsburgh, but then to answer that call and to come out as hot as they did on both sides of the ball. It's impressive. I mean, it speaks well to their coaching. I've never thought that much of Zach Taylor, but maybe he's going to be all right. And I think a lot of it is obviously Joe Burrow and the attitude that he brings to that team. The Chargers are still one of those teams, apparently, even with Justin Herbert at the helm, who they're like caught in some kind of like time warp where they just can't like get over themselves and just win consistently. I don't know what that is, but we also called that spot out last week at Denver. That's a tough spot, right? Denver off a bye. Denver played excellent defense against the Chargers. Are the Bengals? Is the Bengals defense as good as the Broncos defense? I'm not sure about that. I think this is going to be a close game, though. I mean, both teams want to keep on winning. The Chargers need to get back in the win column as the Kansas City Chiefs are creeping up. So I see this being a close game either way, which means that 3 is probably the right number for me. That's where I have this game around 2.5 and 3. So probably no play for me. I would lean to the Bengals as well. So for me, Steve, I have one whole play so far just on the Cardinals. It's the only thing I'm looking at. Let's go to the Vikings at the Lions. Lions 7-point dogs at home. Ton of money on the Vikings, but it looks like, or ton of spread bets on the Vikings, but it looks like the money is pretty even in this one. Totals at 46.5. Vikings just made too many mistakes last week. San Francisco is playing well. This is a good revenge spot for Minnesota. I mean, what can I say about this game, Steve? There's a few games like this every week where I'm just like, what the hell am I supposed? What kind of assertions am I supposed to have about the Detroit Lions? I mean, some players in their team play really hard. I still like Dan Campbell, but this Vikings team, we've seen it with all their talent, when they apply it, when they play well, and they could easily blow out this Lions team in Detroit. So, I mean, this is a game that I just want to kind of stay away from. It's kind of like the Falcons game. Falcons are too unpredictable. The Lions, I don't know when they're going to show up and when they're not. And for that matter, I don't know when the hell the Vikings are going to show up and when they're not going to show up. So the Vikings could sleep this one out too. 7 feels right. Lean to the Vikings, but nothing strong here for me, Steve.
Well, I have a crazy stat. The Vikings are 17-6 all time when Dalvin Cook does not play. So take that for what you will. They perform actually pretty well when he's not in the lineup. And Madison is very capable at taking on the lead running back role. And I think he could honestly be a lead running back on other teams, such as like the Eagles, perhaps. But, and so for this one, we're going to be looking for a more balanced attack. I definitely see an air raid style offense with the Vikings. They have the talent. Like you said, we know which Vikings team is going to show up, because that's what all this matters. This is the only way we have to look at it. We know what Detroit is. We're unsure of what the Vikings are going to be, though. So, and I think consistently lately, we've seen a very competent Vikings teams, especially now that Detroit's not going to be missing, most likely Swift, who's day-to-day after he had that shoulder injury. So very unlikely that he'll play this week. And I just think the Lions don't have as much options on offense. They looked very pitiful on Thursday against the Bears, just making so many mental mistakes, so many penalties. I really actually do think that the Vikings just take care of business in this one and leave no doubt.
All right, I like that, Steve. And I'm going to give you the floor to talk about your team. Eagles, fresh off a very disappointing loss for both of us at the Jets. Eagles are -6.5. What I'm seeing right now, totals at 45. Steve, what do you got on your birds?
I actually like that they're under the key number of 7 there, so that does make it a little more tempting for the Eagles side. Hurts is nursing a sore ankle, but is hopeful to play. I still think that he will play this week, and I think we're going to just see more of that Eagles type of run heavy offense against the Jets here, and really just lean on getting control of possession and maintaining that control. I really like the defense to tee off on Wilson here. Just getting that constant pressure on him, kind of like we saw with Simeon. Daniel Jones, credit to him, he was picking them apart just with a lot of short slant routes. I think the Eagles were playing a little bit too much of soft coverage. A lot of bounces went their way. A lot of turnovers on the offensive side, forcing into double coverage by Jalen Hurts, just tossing it up. Receivers on the back end not being able to catch. Awesome drafting Rieger before Jefferson there. But anyway, I do like the Eagles to take care of business on this one. They're going right back to MetLife, second week in a row. It could be kind of a redemption spot for them. It's going to be the same trip, same type of weather, same type of atmosphere. So not too often do you get to have that type of redemption. So it's a good do-over spot for them, and I think they come out on top, cover this game, and head into their bye on a positive note.
Yeah, I'm checking right now at how the Jets do on defense against the run, and shocker, they're terrible. So I have to like the Eagles too, Steve. I mean, why the Jets do not succeed on defense against the run, and that's what the Eagles do, and they do it better than most teams in the NFL. They kind of look like the Ravens a little bit, the way they can run the ball, Steve. I mean, they were dominantly running the ball against the Giants, just bad mistakes, right? Bad mistakes in the red zone was the difference in that game, especially at the end of that first half. That was a huge momentum shift because they could have got points right there at the end of the half and then got the ball again. The fact that the Giants picked that ball off, just obviously a bad throw from Hurts, bad decision by Hurts. But, the Eagles had a touchdown before that, called back on the holding call. So I expect the Eagles defense, especially after Daniel Jones had some success last week, and I expect their run game to succeed this week as well. Steve, who's your backup quarterback if Jalen Hurts is out?
Oh, it's the great Gardner Minshew, man.
Oh, that's right, Gardner Minshew. That's right.
And I still want to go off of the Eagles. And either way, I'd still take them in that spot. I mean, he's still a capable quarterback, and I think the attack doesn't change. I think it's going to be a run heavy type of offense like we saw against the Lions, where Jalen Hurts still did some things on his legs, but it was just pound the ball up the middle, and I could just see them getting back to that trend.
Yeah, Minshew probably one of the better backup quarterbacks in the NFL.
Oh,
all right, my turn to rant, Steve. Giants at the Dolphins. Dolphins are -3 at home. Totals 41.5, which sounds about right with how boring and low scoring these Giants games are. So on the one side, you got the Dolphins, who have now played really well for a few weeks in a row here. They held the Carolina Panthers under 200 yards last week. Now, it is the Carolina Panthers, led by Cam Newton, who you and I are not high on, and most people probably aren't at this point, nor should we be. But another really efficient game by Tua, 27-31 in that game. Waddle had a huge game, 137 yards and 9 catches. Dolphins are trending up. Dolphins are a little sneaky here. I like that it's only at 3. That, to me, that's an overreaction on the Giants from last week. The Giants played well. Freddie Kitchen, definitely some more creativity on offense. Daniel Jones absolutely made some good passes. So I want to give my Giants credit. However, I left that game thinking, and everyone probably saw it on Twitter if you follow me, how fake news that game was. I mean, that the Eagles had ample opportunities to come ahead. Giants got lucky to stay ahead. Turnovers. 4 Eagles turnovers, 0 for the Giants. Good on the Giants for not making any mistakes. But now the Giants are going to face a Dolphins defense that's feeling really good about themselves. It's in Miami. This is not in cold, windy East Rutherford, New Jersey. The Giants are going to have to go down and play in that little, swamp down there in Miami. Man, I don't expect the Giants, betting against the Giants long-term in these recent years has been successful. The worst thing we can do, if you're a Giants fan out there, the worst thing you can do, and the worst thing we should hope for, is that the Giants start winning a few games, because then our draft picks go away. Then maybe Daniel Jones stays in this team. Maybe Gettleman stays in the team. come on, this is still not a good team. If you watched that Eagles Giants game, you would know that. Dolphins, I expect them to cover this line. It could be competitive, but I'm just going to keep on looking at other teams until the Giants do that. They have one good game here and there, but it ain't consistent. Steve, are you going to pick the Giants in this spot?
Well, actually, so I'm looking on Bet Online to try to find the line, and it looks like the line might have even gotten taken down. I don't know if news just came out about something or whatnot, but from the time that I did my write ups today, it was at 3. And is that what you had, 3 or 3.5? But
Yeah, I saw 3, but I was going off of ESPN.
yep, and right now Action Network has it at 5. So very interesting. So I gotta I don't know if something happened within like the last hour or two or just maybe just insane line movement, but it was definitely not there earlier today. So
I mean, there's a ton of money on the Dolphins and a ton of spread bets on the
there is
Dolphins.
there's a ton. It's 83% versus 17. So I mean that's a kind of a key indicator though too when like the spread bets are going in and the line is moving a lot. That does say a lot. And for me coming into this game and just based off what we saw, the line even at 3.5 was kind of actually raising flags in my head. The fact that Giants just came off of this win, right? So you're thinking, oh, okay, they're trending upward, and the Dolphins have also won their last 2 games? Was it the Ravens before last time, I believe? But
Yes.
so you could maybe think that yeah, Miami's won their last 2 games, but record wise, both of these teams are kind of on the same plane, same category, that I would have thought maybe the line would have been like a -2, -1 kind of closer type of game. And now the spread's just getting bigger. I'm wondering, I got to really delve more into this because I feel like I kind of felt like the public would more want to be on the Giants in this situation, especially after they saw them like, oh, their defense stepped up, took out the Eagles. Granted, Miami did look well, but Miami played against Cam Newton and a Panthers team that, does Cam Newton completely know the playbook? Probably not. Obviously, he's really not the best thrower, as we saw, the last couple years. I gotta kind of look more into this game now, because the line is definitely just threw me off whack all over the place now.
Yeah, Steve, Dolphins have quietly actually won 4 straight, but they beat the Texans, Ravens, Jets, and then Panthers last week. And at 5-7,
Yeah.
the Dolphins could easily win their next 3. They got Giants, Jets, and Saints. So
Yeah, that is actually a very quiet 4 win, because no one's talking
very quiet.
and that's so that is interesting there.
Yeah, and it's not like the Giants are like a step up in class. So I think I think the Dolphins especially. I've wanted to see this from the Dolphins defense all year after what we saw last year. So it's good to see them seeing some positive regression at least on that side of the ball. And Tua, we gotta give him credit. He's playing
Yeah.
well. Colts at the Texans. Texans are 9-point dogs at home. Totals of 45.5. Steve.
Colts at Texas. So I mean, oh, God bless Carson Wentz, right? I mean, he gave it everything he could in the first half of that game, and then kind of reverted back to the old Philadelphia Eagles Carson Wentz that we're used to. So, I kind of like him to bounce back in this game. The only thing that's really making it a little tough for me is it is a division game, like we talked about earlier, and those division games can get a little funky. The Texans are 0-5 against the spread when they play against the Colts at home. However, this year they're 4-1 against the spread when they play against an AFC South opponent. So they're actually playing pretty well against their rivals in their division this year. That was a big letdown for Houston last week. I really, really liked them. I thought coming home after being on the road against the Titans that they were trending up in the right direction, and the Jets with Zach Wilson coming back would have kind of just floundered on the road. Definitely was not the case. But I think overall, you got to really like the Colts to just be able to bounce back. We're still under a key number, I believe, at 9.5 last time I saw it. Key number of 10 in that regard. A lot of bets percentages, though. A lot of people taking the spread right now on the Colts. So that is another red flag for me. That is very high. Last time I looked at it, it was like 94-6. It's going to be changing, obviously, as we go throughout the week. So just keep an eye on that. But I do like the Wentz to bounce back here. I think they're really finding a good rhythm with Jonathan Taylor and leaning on him. He's emerging as one of the lead backs, if not the lead back now, without Derrick Henry playing in the league this year. And I think they can come back and just be able to cover this one on the road.
Yeah, 100%, Steve. I don't care that this is a division game. I don't care that the Texans are at home. The Texans are really bad against the run. And Jonathan Taylor was held to under 100 yards last week against that Bucs defense. We saw that coming, Steve. We was not going to have the same superb week that he had in the previous week against that great Bucs defense. So this is a spot where Jonathan Taylor can get back to his normal output. And that means less pressure on Carson Wentz to make big plays against this Texans team, who is probably not going to score a lot of points as it is. That Colts defense is going to want to come back after letting the Bucs put up 38 on them last week. So even if this line goes up, I would grab it now. Texans +9 is probably going to go up to 10 or so. That's where I see it going. I mean, I don't see any reason to bet on the Texans here. So I'm probably going to go Colts for me. Could be a circa play too. And you know what, Steve? Speaking of circa, would not mind fading the Giants once again. So something to think about. All right. Washington football team at the Raiders. Raiders are -2.5 at home. Total is 49.5. This is a really tough game because I like what I saw from both teams last week.
Mm-hmm.
I like that the Raiders really showed up on Thanksgiving on a short week, going on the road at Dallas. Played good on defense. Made some, Crosby making some crazy plays on defense. That one play where he just smothered the offensive lineman, and then Dak was impressive. So for whatever reason, whatever motivational tool the Raiders used last week, maybe they can muster that again because they looked like a much more complete team. Darren Waller playing well. Some of their receivers that haven't been playing well coming back and looking better. Jacobs running the ball efficiently. But now Washington, man, I mean, Seattle is absolutely not the same team that we've seen. They lost 4 games in a row now. That is the first time Russell Wilson has ever lost 4 straight games in his career. So that is a different Seattle Seahawks team. But credit to Washington, man. I mean, it's still Russell Wilson coming across to your home turf. You have to defend it. And they stayed in control of that game. Once they got in the lead, they never let Seattle come back. The defense is starting to make plays. And Heineke, is he a great quarterback? No, but he's a fighter. He reminds me of Jalen Hurts. He has a good arm. He can run. He's tough. So this is a really tough game, Steve. I'm inclined to go with Washington just because there's some value. Maybe it'll go up to 3, and then you get more value. At 2.5, tough to make a call either way. Kind of like the over in this one because both offenses are looking better, and I think their offenses are better than their defenses still. But and of course it's inside the dome, the Death Star. But lean towards the over and lean towards Washington at this point. What do you got, Steve?
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning. I'll just go and say I'm kind of leaning more towards the Raiders. I think the defensive presence that we can see with the Raiders can get after, be able to contain, stop their run that we really saw last night's game plan with Washington was a run heavy, sustaining these drives. I think that the Raiders are capable of stopping that type of offense with Heineke, who is more dynamic, but let's put it this way. He's not going to be an Aaron Rodgers type of accurate type of passer, right? He's not going to be able to just completely pick you apart, where I think that defensive line can get after him and maybe even move around the offensive line, especially with their starting center, Schweitzer, who looked like he might not be a go for this week with the ankle injury. I really like to see that Raiders incorporated Deshaun Jackson last week. That was a big factor. He had that one opening drive touchdown catch, and then just the deep ball presence. Now that's showing a new wrinkle with them that he was getting the flag. So those, even though it's not on his stat sheet, he was producing a lot. I think he drew at least two pass interference penalties that were huge for that game. And Waller, though, I think is going to be out for the Raiders, so that definitely does not bode well for them. But their backup tight end, Murray, I believe it is, or Maru, he's more than capable. I saw him absolutely decimate the Eagles when I was out in Vegas watching him because Waller didn't play, and he was actually I think he might have even had 2 touchdown catches actually. So he was very capable. I think that the Washington is hot right now. The 3-game win streak, going on the road into Vegas, the black hole, as they say. it could be a very tough task for him, and we are under the key number of 3 with the Raiders. And one last thing is Washington just had to sign a kicker off of the Bears practice squad. So at a low number like this, where field goals could definitely come into play, extra points could definitely come into play, and kickers are, a dime a dozen. That could definitely be a factor in this one.
Yeah, I like it, Steve. I like everything you said. How about the Jaguars at the Rams? Rams minus 13 at home. Hopefully they answer the call this week after that showing in Green Bay. Ton of money, obviously. Spread bets on the Rams, but that line has moved up. Is this one of those picks where we have to take the dirty favorite, Steve?
I mean, for me, the Rams at home, coming off of a loss, haven't been looking that great as of late. It just screams to me like, oh, you have to take the Rams here. This is a great matchup for them to be able to tee off, get back on track. They're pissed off losing to the Packers, kind of got embarrassed by them, honestly. It wasn't even really close. But the thing is, and that it's just raising too many red flags for me almost, is it just too easy? Because this one feels very easy, even though it's a big number, minus 13. I mean, this one just feels like the Rams should just be able to completely walk over Jacksonville. And my only thing is I'm just going to have to kind of wait and see to where this line moves, because I'm just questioning, is this just too easy? Because it seems like, for me anyway, it seems just way too easy of a pick.
Yeah, this is about as big of a disparity as you can get in power ratings between two teams. I mean, you have a rookie coach, a rookie quarterback, and not a very talented roster, traveling across the country to face the Los Angeles Rams after they lost now 2 in a row, and that's a bad loss at Green Bay. I mean, it's not a bad loss because Green Bay is so good, but you would hope that they'd be a little more competitive than that. Green Bay controlled that game. So it's about as big of a disparity as possible for me. At 13, might even feel light actually for me. The only way I can look at this one is the Rams. What more can we say about this? I mean, the Rams, despite some of their recent woes, are a very talented team and a very well coached team. So they'll come back. It feels very similar, Steve. If the Jaguars were going to Kansas City, or if the Jaguars were going to fucking some of these elite teams, if they were going to Tampa Bay, this is the same type of deal. The Jaguars were going to Lambeau Field. We would all expect that to be a 20+ point win. So I think that's what we have to expect here too. All right, now Steve, since we're live on a podcast here, I have to be honest with you. We have 4 games left and I really have to piss. So I've been drinking so much water because I'm about to get the flu vaccine tomorrow, and you're supposed to really hydrate before that to feel better. So you tell me which game you could talk about for a solid 2 minutes, and I'm going to jet, and I'm going to come right back.
Solid 2 minutes. I love that you're putting me out here like this. That's great.
I'm doing it. Well, how about the Ravens at the Steelers? Can you carry that for 2 minutes?
I'm going to try. All
right, Ravens at Steelers. Steelers are +4. Total is 44. Steve, take your time. I'll be right back.
I'll take my time. No, so the one thing that was hilarious watching on Twitter was all these Devin Bush plays of where he was isolated on all these picks. Seeing Devin Bush, and if you guys get on Twitter and look up Devin Bush, and he had video game controls on him, because he would just sit there and then that ball would hike. So what are the Steelers doing with him? He doesn't look like he's even going to be able to play. Where is their defense? We didn't see any presence with them at all. However, one thing I am looking at is it is the Ravens matchup, and we're at +4 with the Ravens. And that game for me is kind of a sneaky game, because as we know with this team, these are big, big rivals. Big rivals in the sense that that the Steelers are just really, really, really good at coming back when sorry about that. When they're down. They've been down lately. We saw them against the Lions, tying them. We saw them then the week after that, losing again on the road. They looked pretty good against the Chargers. And then this last week game, it was just terrible. We saw this Steelers team come out and just completely get decimated and rolled. However, this atmosphere, I think, could be very, very tough for the Steelers in this spot. I mean, for the Ravens in this spot. I even with the Steelers maybe not having Watt, they said that he got his vaccine but he might have to. He has to still pass 2 COVID tests in 24 hours, and I think Freiermuth is in concussion protocol. Yeah, those are key players, but I just think with the Ravens and the Steelers in this game, they play to each other's levels. They'll hype up each other, or they'll either play in a low scoring affair. I just think the Steelers can bounce back hard here and be able to cover here at 4.5.
Yeah, Steve, I'm back officially.
Yeah,
I love that.
I was so bad. I could not talk by myself without you like laughing. I was just like,
without just my presence.
Oh my God,
I don't know, man. When I came down the stairs, you sounded great.
Dude, I was like literally like laughing the half the time.
That's hilarious. That's good. Hey, live pod, man. I mean, maybe that's at least it wasn't one of those beer pisses that goes for like 2 minutes. Like it was nice and efficient.
Very fast.
Steve,
I actually didn't even say anything. I was just like blah 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 blah.
Yeah, whatever. Well, I can always edit that out of the podcast.
Oh, it was awful.
But so, dude, I love what I heard at the end there, Steve. God help me. I think I want to take the Steelers in this spot.
I'm tired of the Steelers too, though. That's the other thing.
I'm so tired of them, man. I keep on. I mean, we had them in circle last week, and God, that was disappointing. But here's the thing: when you get steamrolled like that at the very beginning of the game on the road, it's easy to kind of give up. It's easy to kind of be, well, I mean, what were they down like 28 or 31-10 at the half or 31? I mean, it was like a crazy margin at the half. So they knew they weren't going to come back and win that game. But this line, man, is kind of telling me to take the Steelers, because shouldn't the Ravens, who are supposed to be one of the more premier teams in the league, shouldn't they be favored by more against the Steelers team that just got whacked by the Bengals? I like the way the Steelers kind of match up against the Ravens anyway. The Ravens don't have the same kind of running back that the Bengals have. Joe Mixon played really well last week. Ben Roethlisberger, although he can't get the ball out of his damn hands half the time, I think he's going to be able to do some more things here at home. He has to come back. I mean, this is his last hurrah, probably. So let's go, Ben. You're at home. This is a divisional game. Lamar Jackson, then, on the other hand, we saw the flaws in his passing game. I mean, we see it all the time. Lamar is a great athlete. Is he a great thrower of the football? I don't think so. It's not consistent enough, and this is a great passing defense that the Steelers have, despite what we saw last week. So at home, +4 again. God fucking help me. I think I have to take the Steelers. Let's go to the 49ers and Seahawks. Talk about a changing of the guard. Seahawks just a different team now. +3.5 at home. 45.5 is the total. How long has it been since we've seen the Seahawks as dogs at home, as consistent as we've seen this year? It's kind of sad, man. It's the end of an era. A lot of people that I listen to are saying that Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson are probably done in Seattle. Maybe they'll go their separate ways. We'll see. I won't say anything about where Russell Wilson could go, but you know where I would love him to go. But that being said, man, I think Seattle's done. Like I think the Seahawks are just done. They lost their chances to get in the playoffs last week, if you ask me. If you can't beat the Washington football team, forget about it. And this is a team that's not getting. I mean, Wilson can't get the ball to Metcalf. Wilson doesn't have any protection. He hasn't had protection for years, but it's really starting to affect him. San Francisco has won 3 straight. Do I want to play on Seattle here? Sure, because this is a team that I watched for the past 10, 20 years, and I've, supported. Well, not supported, but I've enjoyed watching him and Russell, But no, I can't do it, man. If anything, I have to go the 49ers side here, and I probably have to go to the under with how terrible I've seen the Seahawks offense has been the past few weeks. 4 straight losses. Bad. On to you, Steve.
Dude, I have so much respect for Colin Cowherd, because he can sit on a radio and talk to himself for like 5 hours.
5 hours, man.
I couldn't even do it for 20 seconds, dude. I was just like, it was like so frightening to me. I need
maybe I'll just leave it on the podcast just because it's hilarious.
Yeah, I need like the sitcom audience to be a laugh track, I think, and then that give me some feedback while I'm talking. So then that makes calms it down, because it was just bad. I didn't even say anything.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, from what you told me in the past, you're not even like it's not like you're looking at me as you're going over your picks, right? Like
No,
you're
I'm
looking at
not.
all your stats and stuff. So maybe I shouldn't have even said anything.
Oh no, if you didn't say anything, I would have just kept talking. That
Damn.
was it.
Okay.
No, but
I'll know that for next time.
talking about trends, the two teams in this one that are in complete opposite directions. Wilson to me clearly isn't 100%. DK Metcalf is hiding. Seahawks can't even stop the run, as apparent as we saw last night. San Francisco is going to be missing a key player in Debo with a hamstring injury out maybe 1 to 2 weeks. So that could throw a little wrench in them, but I really don't see them slowing down at this point. I I don't see how the Seahawks are just going to magically bounce back. I could see possibly that they're able to contain San Francisco somewhat just because it's a division game, keeping it close. But and because of that, this one really screams under for me at 45 and a half. I just don't see the offensive capability right now from the Seahawks like we saw earlier in the year, and that finger injury might be a little bit bigger and more prevalent than Russell Wilson's leading on to be coming back so soon.
Yeah, absolutely. He's not right. All right, Broncos at the Chiefs. Chiefs up to 10-point favorites at home after the Broncos got that big win. Totals at 47, Steve. What do you say?
Oh, so like Kansas City's just back now, and there's just massive lines at home, and they're just able to cover right away. Like I was just shocked when I saw how big this line was. It smelled fishy to me. I was like, why is this line so big? Right? Like Broncos just had a very nice, convincing win. They were in Dallas not too long ago, looked okay. I mean, not looked okay, dominated Dallas. They took a step back when they played Philly, obviously, and now all of a sudden Kansas City wins a couple games against one convincingly against the Raiders, and now Dallas, and now they're just 10-point favorites where they bowed at 1-5 against the spread at home. So, for me, it seems like really a pretty big line for considering how we've seen Kansas City play this year, but because it doesn't make any sense, I think I'm leaning on it, and that's really my only narrative here because it's really a lot bigger than I thought it would be.
Yeah, that's interesting, Steve. So my first thought actually at Kansas City 1-5 ATS at home. My first thought was actually that I want to go all in on the Chiefs. Um, it's that time of year, right?
Mhm.
It's that time of year. They seem to be turning the ship around at the right time. Denver probably feeling good about themselves after that win last week. Obviously, why shouldn't they? That's a good win. But here's the thing: if the Chiefs go up early in this game, Broncos are not going to be able to keep pace with them. Now, that being said, the Broncos are a top 10 defense. You look at their categories, their stats, they are a top 10 defense in many, many different categories. I believe they're third in points allowed per game. So the Chiefs could struggle in this one. And I hear your narrative. I mean, where do the Chiefs get off all of a sudden being 10-point favorites, even at home? That being said, off of a bye,
Uh-oh,
we know that narrative, right?
Andy
Andy
Reid.
Reid hasn't made a big difference this year in other teams, but Andy Reid is not every other coach, right? He's Andy Reid. You could just see a lot of creative play calling in this game. I could see the Chiefs going up 14-0 in the first quarter and never looking back. And so that's what I'm leaning on in this one, Steve. I don't think it's the old school Chiefs who are just going to run rampant over every team in the NFL. This is about as good of a spot as you're going to get. So if they're going to dominate, this is the spot to dominate.
It's so funny. Like right when you were talking, I looked up, and before you even said it, I looked up Andy Reid's record after bye, 19-3 in his career. So that definitely is a trend you want to follow.
That's straight up or ATS?
That's straight up.
Yeah, straight up. Yeah,
Yep.
I mean, I don't care straight up or ATS. Straight up,
Mhm.
that's incredible.
Mhm.
19-3.
Yep.
That's insane. So yeah, I mean, add your Chiefs, I guess, to maybe your teasers and the parlay legs, dude. Not gonna get a lot of value in parlays, but maybe on those teasers, bring them down to 3. All right, final game is a big one, Steve. Patriots at the Bills. Bills minus 2.5 at home, favored against this Patriots team that is confident and red hot. Totals at 43.5. Ooh, I get to go first on this one. All right. I'll be honest with you. I don't even have any notes written down for this because I just want to talk about it because this is an exciting game, man. Nothing makes me want to not take the Patriots in this game. The Patriots have been consistent, not the Bills. The Patriots have been getting better and better all year, not the Bills. the Bills got a good win last week against the Saints, who are crumbling. So that I think that's more about the Saints than it is the Bills. The Bills are still a very talented team, but I don't think the Bills are going to have an easy time with the Patriots in this defense. I think Mac Jones and that Patriots offense has figured some things out, how to run the ball consistently. Man, I mean, the Patriots were the easiest pick for all of us last week. Probably the pick we should have put in Circa, but that's okay. Dude, I know it's at Buffalo and that's a tough spot, but if my memory serves me correctly, this overloaded brain of mine, these two teams have not faced each other yet this year. So this is their first meeting. Bills have never seen Mac Jones. That's right? They haven't faced each other yet.
Nope.
So man, I mean, not that Mac Jones is someone to see, but they have to game plan a little bit differently. The thing I like about Mac Jones, Steve, is that he doesn't get shook. He doesn't.
Mm-mm.
And and we saw that on draft day, the way that he walked on the stage, it's like, oh, okay, this guy thinks he's the shit. And I thought it was kind of fake news, but he's remained that way all year. He's kind of unshakable. If you hear like insider conversations about the Patriots and the way that organization is run, you have to be smart to play on that team and to stay at that team and to be successful because of the way that they run their plays. I think Mac Jones is pretty bright. He had a very high score on his Wonderlic, as compared to a lot of other quarterbacks who did not. He actually scored better than Tom Brady on the Wonderlic. So that's something to say, man. Patriots at the Bills, huge game, Monday Night Football. I hope Eli and Payne are there. I gotta lean to the Patriots. What do you got, Steve?
Well, I mean, is this game of the year so far? I mean, I think it's shaping up to be.
It's up there.
And I have to say, I feel very bad for the Bills in the sense that, they were tormented by Brady and their division for years upon years, just getting absolutely dominated. And they thought, once Brady left, they were going to have at least, some reign there with 3 solid, maybe 4 years of just cakewalking through their division. And it's just not the case now at all. The Pats are the real deal, and they are good. They're not just winning. They're dominating teams, and I don't care who they're playing. Like, that's hard to do in the NFL, just completely dismantling teams, and it shows. We see week in and week out. Last year, the Bills' offense, I think, was a lot more polished. We saw a lot more bigger numbers coming between Allen and Stephon Diggs. Patriots last year obviously were a shell of themselves. They didn't have not nearly as good of a defense. A lot of their defenses players sat out due to COVID. Obviously, on offense, they had Newton running the offense. They weren't a good team. In November of last year, the Patriots went into Buffalo and only lost by 3 with that team, facing a Bills team that was very capable. So, moving fast forwarding a year, this Bills team is still the same Bills team. They're very capable. They're very good, right? This Patriots team is a lot better. Bill Belichick has the pieces. He has the team that he can scheme around with his defense. He can put Josh Allen through the paces, through the tests, through the ringer, like we saw what he did with Tom Brady and the Bucs. And that's when we were kind of still trying to figure out, what is the Patriots' identity? Is Mac Jones the real deal? What type of confidence does he have? I think now those questions are all starting to be answered. And I don't think this spot, especially on Monday Night Football, is going to be too big for Mac Jones. He's from Alabama. He's used to those big stages. He's used to these big games. He already had to play in one of the biggest games of the year, Thursday Night Football, when it was against the Bucs. That was so hyped up. That was almost like a Super Bowl hype, right? So this game, and you're going to give me the points with one of the hottest teams in the league, in the Patriots. I'm going to take the Patriots. And hey, if you don't win it, taking Bill Belichick, getting points, I mean, it's usually a rare one.
Yeah, great point, Steve. I love that we're on the same side of that one. And check this out: 80%, as it stands now, 80% chance of snow on Sunday. 45-degree high, 28-degree low. I kind of like the under too, because what we see in most games in most sports, the better team controls the pace of the game, and I think the Patriots defense is the best unit on the field. And now we have a cold and snowy game. Man, that's going to be entertaining, man. Eli and Peyton coming back. I might have to take off a few hours on Tuesday to kind of get after it and watch that one. But Steve, awesome stuff, man. We're doing well under an hour every single time we do this podcast. I forgot to mention at the top of the show, please follow me and Steve on Twitter. Did you want to add something?
No.
Oh, yeah. At Farley Bets, and we're at Chris R. Farley 1 on Twitter, at Snorm, SNORM on Twitter. Follow me and Steve. Follow the Odds Breakers. Steve, we're still in it in Circa, man. We're still right there.
We're right there. I think we can really bounce. I think this is a really good week to bounce back. I
love that.
Fade the public. Fade the public.
Pay attention to our Circa picks. We put them out every Sunday morning around 9 o'clock. So you can make your plays just based off of them. They've been winning all year. We're winning at about a 63, 65, something like that % clip. So guys, thanks. Another week in the book. Sorry it was a day early, but check out those premium picks. Connect with me and Steve about them so that you're ready to go for week 13. What do you got, Steve?
Do you want to do your teasers at all, or you want to skip?
Oh, I'm so pumped. People already probably signed off.
I know.
We didn't do the teaser. Well, first of all, I'm not going to do any teasers right now.
I
have to take a step back on teasers, but my big balls play is probably going to be, God help me, either the Steelers, and it's definitely I'm absolutely going to make a money line play on the Patriots. How about you, Steve?
Yeah, my big balls play was definitely moneyline Patriots, but I really like building this one teaser that I have right now is the Eagles, Vikings, and Chiefs.
All to win. Chiefs down to 3.
Yeah. Chiefs down to 3, Vikings to win, Eagles to win. Yep.
I love that. I mean, this is the time of year where we should start to see the cream of the crop, right? The cream rising to the top. This is what we should start to see. So hopefully those teasers, we can start to count on them. Boy, we got brutalized. I got brutalized again because the Cowboys and Eagles took away some big money from me. But thank you for bringing that up, Steve. I'm so amped. I forgot about the ending to our show. Check us out again next week, everybody. We'll be back on Wednesday, the regularly scheduled time. Farley Bets, Bobo Bets. We out of here, Steve. Let's fucking go.
Thanks, everyone, for listening to that monstrosity during the Steelers pick.
I'll try not to piss again. All right, see you guys.
Later, guys.